Hello and welcome. We are here once again for the fantastic, excellent SRL TCR League for the final round of season number 11. This 10, I should say. I'm looking at something that says season number 11 because next week we head out for the season 11 pre-season events. They are absolutely free to join and I recommend that you do. It is going to be an absolutely fantastic event coming up, but first we need to end here around season number 10, and we are of course at the fantastic Hungaroring for this one. 4 drivers will be walking away from the 10th and final round of competition as champions, and what a season it has been, where we set off all those weeks ago, in fact all those months ago, on January 9th at Jerez for the opening round of competition, and we then went across to Motegi. We saw some great fights across the field. Long Beach, we saw the first of the major incidents, the introduction of penalties and the penalty system, and that has had a significant impact on one championship in particular, which we will talk about in just a moment's time. Summit Point then came around, and again we saw some great racing there before we headed across to VIR, and it saw our next big accident of the season, heading on the front straight there and underneath the tunnels, of course. We then headed across to Mugello, some good racing going on there, and then across to Brands Hatch just a few weeks ago. Catalonia on March 6th showed again some door-to-door action. Road America last week again had some significant impacts on the championship. We head out here at Hungaroring. What was originally supposed to be the 5th round of competition, it was postponed to the 10th and final round of the season, and we prepare to get going around the Hungaroring circuit in a few moments' time for qualifying. Of course, our grid for race number 1 is going to be set by our qualifying. Our grid for race number 2 will be your results from race 1 with your top 15 inverted. Now, as this session stands, it is Adam Dalmont who's at the top with Kim Borkland just behind. And if that sounds familiar, well, it means that you have had a look at our Pro Championship standings in this one, because it is Adam Dalmont on the top of the Pro standings over there, as well as I have a little bit of a look-see at our Pro Championship standings myself with 892 points. Borkland is mathematically the only driver still in with an opportunity of winning that championship. He sits on 847 points, which means right now he's sitting 45 points behind. 75 points for a victory, of course, 2 races coming your way, which means that there are 150 points on offer. No drop week today as well, which means if Dalmont does have another poor week, which we saw him have last time out at Road America, it means that he could lose the championship to Borkland, but it is his to lose right now. And as it stands, he is running the fastest out there. Get the points on the board in race number 1. If he can increase that 45-point gap by 30 points in race number 1, he mathematically is your champion. But Borkland just needs to stay within 30 points. And at the moment, he's sitting second in this practice session, which means that he is going to keep himself mathematically in this championship. But I do say mathematically because the gap is big. But it can, and it does change, especially with no drop week applied today. The rest of your the rest of your pro field being shown there. Jaden Scotton moving up into 3rd position. Of course, he was here last week. It was a very small field of drivers out this time last week in each of the championships, and Scotton, of course, coming home with some great results to his name, taking his first victories, and it dropped Will Lyon, Espinera and Thurtle down the order there. Let's have a look then at your semi-pro standings, because unfortunately Downing will not be able to make today's race. However, mathematically he does not need to, because Daniel Downing is your semi-pro champion. It's the first time that we have had this semi-pro class. It's the class between your pros and your pro-ams. It's the first time we've had it, and Daniel Downing is going to be your champion before we even enter the final round. As I say, he is unable to make today due to family commitments. However, he is your champion. 769 points to his name. That will stay throughout the course of the evening. It will not go up, it will not go down, but he will be your champion. And of course, Kev Aylett moved past Carl Hardy last week. They'll still be fighting out here today to see if they can do anything. And as I look here, Aylett is here, Hardy is here. They are going to be fighting for second in the championship, just 21 points between them. So there are still fights behind to keep an eye on. And as we're talking about fights behind, let's go to the next class down and your Pro-Ams. Titular is all but your champion in there. Again, mathematically, Craig Walters is still within an opportunity. There are 115 points between the two of them. Mathematically, Titular still has the opportunity. So Titular is definitely going to have the opportunity to win, but Walters does have a far distant opportunity to take the championship with 550 points to his name. But mathematically, likelihood is Titular is going to take the championship, and he can do that in race number 1 to solidify that championship. Now, the championship that has had a big effect, and I think one that we do need to pay attention to here, because I do think that the championship in your amateur class has been directly affected from penalty points that were applied last week. Vigard Olsen-Lea was leading the championship, 510 points to his name. Thomas Kuhn with 507. However, no, sorry, I should say Lea was 512 points to his name. However, Vigard Olsen-Lea did receive a penalty last week. It was 7 points off of his name, which means that going into the final round, Thomas Kuhn is going to be leading the championship, 2 points clear of Vigard Olsen-Lea. Mathematically, Ben Gibbons and Torburn Mail are still in with an opportunity. Realistically, we can count them out. But Thomas Kuhn, Vigard Olsen-Lea, they are just 2 points separating them. The bonus points from being on pole position are going to mean a lot. And Kuhn right now is the fastest of your amateurs in this practice session at the moment. So those bonus points, those additional points that are 5 points, I believe it is, means that Kuhn could pull his gap up to 7 points before the start of the first race. But that is the one that we are going to need to keep an eye out, is Thomas Kuhn and with Vigard Olsen-Lea. Now, with that being said, this broadcast is going to go longer than it usually does on a Friday night, and that is because we will be sticking around and checking out the championship standings live. At the end of race number 2, it does mean we'll have our interviews, but we may have a bit of a pause between the interviews and then us talking about the championship standings, just as they're tabulated. If we talk to enough people, we might not have a break, and sometimes, as we saw from season number 9, that does happen. Now, I mentioned earlier on, season number 11 is going to be coming our way, so it is something that we do need to be thinking about as well. And of course, we don't have any weeks off in SRL. We will be back out next Friday, not for round number 1, but for our pre-seasons. And if you're interested in getting involved in that, well, the pre-seasons are absolutely free to join. You can jump down and give the pre-seasons a go. We head over to Sebring next Friday on the 27th of March for the first pre-season event. And again, just like for season 10, we're only going to see 2 pre-season events ahead of season number 11. We head across to Interlagos on the 3rd of April for the second pre-season event. Both of those are free to join, so make sure you're getting across into the SRL Discord to get yourself involved in those pre-season events. Then we head out for round number 1 at Donington. What a first track to have on our calendar for Donington Park. It is going to be interesting to see how that plays out as a league opener. We return to Mugello for the second round of competition. We had a great race at Mugello this season. That'll be fun to go to. And then we would go to Nürburgring for the third round of competition next season. Silverstone Nationals on there. Great circuit for BTCC fans, that's for sure, and great in these touring cars. Imola joins the championship round number 5. We head to Watkins Glen on 6. Snetterton's there in 7th before we go back-to-back Britain races. And we go to Thruxton. That's going to be a fun one. Very fast circuit. Mid-Ohio, the first time I'll be broadcasting a race from Mid-Ohio on round number 9. And it ends at Zandvoort. What a season number 11. Guys, get yourself involved in that one. Spaces are going quick. We already have a very big field of 30 drivers signed up for season number 11. So make sure you get yourself involved. We will be back here in Joseph Wright broadcasting on SRL TV for season number 11, and I am excited for it. The pre-season races and all of the rounds as well. And as I get confirmation in the YouTube chat, bonus points are 5 for pole and 3 for the fastest lap in each race. So we do need to keep an eye out on that as well, because those bonus points can have a significant impact in the championship, especially when penalty points are applied, such as the penalty points to Vigard Olsen Lear. He'll be wanting to keep it clean here this evening. As you can see in the top left corner, practice is ticking over to a close, and our drivers are going to be preparing themselves for what is going to be an excellent total of 45 minutes of racing. 2 races coming your way. The first race of 20 minutes will be set by the upcoming qualifying session, and race number 2 will be the results from race number 1. But your top 15, well, they're going to flip on its head, and our race winner from race 1 will start in 15th place. The driver who manages to get himself into 15th will start from pole position. Now, our amateur drivers, such as Thomas Kuhn, Vigard Olsen-Lear, will be hoping they are part of that invert, maximise their points in the second race of the day and try to take the championship. However, every time we have seen an amateur driver at the very front of the field in this series, they have unfortunately been taken out in an accident. We saw it a number of times for Vigard Olsen-Lear, and I believe it happened to someone else last week. I'm not too sure if it was last week or who that was again, but it is bad luck, I think, for an amateur driver to be at the very front. So do you want to be there for the points? Do you not want to be there for the bad luck it has caused our drivers over the course of the season? And finally, before we get across into our qualifying session, I think it is good that we touch base with our team's championship as well, because alongside all of our drivers racing individually, they are going to be heading out there and getting some points on the board for the teams. And as it stands, Next Gen Racing Green, that has been the dominant team of the season, are no longer in that dominant position, with Sim Racing Forces Norway sitting just 45 points behind, and with a potential 150 points on the board for one driver. That door is still very much wide open. SRL Purple, I think, are SRL Purple are mathematically out of it. However, Sim Racing Forces Norway, Kim Borkland, Ronald de Jong are going to be going head-to-head with Jack Brown and Adam Delmont in the team's championship. All 4 of those drivers are out there. They're going to be seeing what they can do. Right, checkered flag is out here, which means we are going to be focusing on our qualifying session, which is just about to begin here around the wonderful Hungaroring circuit. And I really do mean that. It is a brilliant track. It is a tricky circuit, of course, in Formula 1, likened to Monaco, but without the barriers. In the touring cars, however, a very different beast. And I've been watching through practice as drivers have tried to make their overtakes and their opportunities. So, with 4 car classes preparing for this one, 3 of them are still mathematically to be decided. I think we do have to keep a very close eye on the Pro Championship. Delmont and Borkland, in fact, will keep such a close eye that we will watch Adam Delmont on his outlap here. But we do need to keep an eye on Kim Borkland as well in his chase to try and catch up to Adam Delmont, because, of course, they are just 35 points between the 2 of them right now. Or is it 45? Now my maths is terrible already. It is 50 45. No, 45. It's 45. We'll pretend my maths is good. It's 45 points between the two of those. 75 points for a victory, of course. Then we need to have a look at, I would say, our pro-ams. Just keep an eye on Titular. If Titular finishes, I think, like 20th or better, Titular is your pro-am champion out of race number 1. Your amateur class is your super duper close class. Thomas Kuhn, 507 points. Vigard Olsen Lia, 505. That is the one that is going to come absolutely down to the wire. But depending on how race 1 goes for Dalmont and Borkland, Dalmont could win the championship mathematically in this first race, and he is going to be hoping to do that because his race number 2s have not gone well as of late. And of course, it has allowed Kim Borkland, who's been having stronger overall race weekends, to be closing up in that championship. Right then, we are going to ride on board with Adam Dalmont here, and we are going to ride on board with the Honda machine. Of course, a number of cars jumping across to the new Audi last week when we headed out to Road America. We are now at a circuit that is strong for the Audis, but certainly not the strongest car of all of them. The Hondas are looking pretty quick out there. We've obviously got the old Audi machine in JB Dejay, and we have got the Hyundais on the Elanchas and Velosters still putting in laps. That's a bit of a wobble there from Craig Walters, who was the first man out on circuit. Now, Dalmont is going to get the benefit of the tow here, but we'll be hoping that Walters does not slow him down. In fact, as that Walters moving out of the way, it is not as we come up towards turn number 4 here. Well, Dalmont is all over the rear end of Walters, and it could be impacting his lap time now. And I think Adam Dalmont might just have to back out of his lap. He's not going to, because Craig Walters, in fact, backs out, gets out of the way. Dalmont would have been hindered just a little bit through the back end of that course there, but he continues to push on hard now as we come through the 6-7 chicane and into 8 and 9. Of course, this second half of the lap, a lot of switchbacks. This is where it gets slow, it gets tight, and cars need to get their turning capabilities working. Out of turn number 11, and now foot to the floor as you head up towards the heavy braking zone of turn number 12. You get yourself turned into the right here. Dalmont gets that curving on the inside, pushes it to the curving on the outside, swings it back across now into turn number 13. As you exit turn number 13, you're going to push up all the way into that entry to pit lane, but you swing across back to the left here as you turn for the 14th and final turn here at Hungaroring. That is a lap of the circuit, and Adam Dalmont will be the first man to put a time on the board here as he comes across the timing line, and will go provisional pole position, but we'll have to see what cars behind him are doing. In fact, we will definitely have to have a look at what his rival Kim Borkland is able to do, as Borkland cost the time there. It was an invalid lap and a slow lap as well for Kim Borkland in the mix of the field here, which means we will keep an eye on Kim Borkland on this second lap of asking here and seeing if he is able to get a strong lap in to the field. Only 3 pro drivers are heading out there once again today, and in your pro field it is your top, well, it's not your top 3 actually, because it's Will Lyon. I'm about to say it's your top 3. Will Lyon's out, which means he will get past Jaden Scotton for 3rd in the championship, but it's Dalmont, Borkland and Will Lyon are your only 3 pro drivers out there today. The rest of your field have a few more out there. Your semi-pros sorry, your semi-pros are your biggest looking field as Kim Borkland gets through the chicane and at the moment keeps this lap valid, which is exactly what he's going to want to do, as Jorburn Mayer is your first of your amateur class to get onto the board, and then Thomas Kuhn does. Crucially for Kuhn, that is a very fast lap, 1.4 off of pole, but in the midst of the field right now, and we'll be looking to get those 5 additional bonus points for pole position. We get into turn number 12 as we head through the hairpin of 13. Borkland will be trying to make sure that this lap is a valid run, as I keep on looking over on the right hand side. Lots of off tracks, in fact 25 off tracks by repeated drivers, but 25 off tracks on drivers' second lap of asking, and Kim Borkland gets an off track on the final lap on the final corner of the circuit, I should say, which means Borkland, who would have put in a 52.281 fast enough for third position, finds himself without a lap time. He gets an off-track by running wide at the final corner. Now, Vegard Olsen Leah just crossed the timing line there and goes first in class. That will put Olsen Leah back ahead in the championship in the amateur class before race 1 even begins. It'll put him 3 points ahead. And look at the difference in their overall race positions. They take their points from overall race positions, of course. So this is going to be tight between Olsen Leah and Coombe in the championship. There is no doubt about that. And as it stands, Olsen Leah would be in the invert if race number 1 was to end the way this qualifying session currently stands. As we have a little a look back at a few other drivers who are yet to get lap times on the board. We go back to Kim Borkland here, who is trying to get the pro machine up towards the front, but this lap, once again, for Kim Borkland, is going to be invalidated. Kim Borkland, at this rate, is going to be starting his championship challenging weekend in the final round of asking from the rear of the field, which is not what he is going to want nor need. As we actually look at how his teammate is doing it, because we obviously have the teams fight going on, and Ronald de Jong right now, 6th place in this session, knocks down to 7th as Kim Borkland gets a lap time on the board. It showed me as an off track for Kim Borkland on that lap of asking. Yeah, Kim Borkland, lap 3, off track, but that lap time is invalid. It was valid. Interesting. Okay. Now on to the 4th lap of asking for Kim Borkland here. Look how close it is. I mean, I don't think that you can really deny that this season has been an incredibly tight, hard-fought fight for anyone. Currently, your top 4 drivers are less than a 10th of a second apart. Will Lyon and Adam Delmont, first and second position, are 1/1000th of a second apart in this session right now. And Adam Delmont is going to try and get past the number 20 machine and find that 37 on the front row. He'll be looking for the additional bonus points from pole position to help him in keeping that at 45 points advantage, which would turn to a 50 points advantage after qualifying if Delmont is able to place it on pole position. He comes through turn number 12 now, just 2 more turns left and 5 more minutes left in this session as well for our drivers as they look to try and just place in last minute laps. Vandenbroek, Ben Gibbons, London, all of them yet without lap times, all of them amateur drivers, which does help Vegard Olsen Leah and Thomas Coombe. But look at Leah, he's up in 13th, Thomas Coombe down in 20th, a huge gap between your AM drivers, which I'm almost certain will be seeing Coombe and Leah into the Pro-Am class next season if they are joining us for season number 11, which if I have a look actually at who is involved in season number 11 right now, Vegard Olsen Leah will be back, and I do expect them to be in that Pro-Am class. And as it stands, Thomas Coombe, I'm almost certain I saw Coombe's name at one point. Yep, Thomas Coombe will also be back. I do think we will see them both in the Pro-Am standings next season. I think that they have both shown great pace in the amateurs, and even if whoever misses out on the championship, I do think we'll see them in that, what is on our standings right now, the purple Pro-Am class. Our green semi-pro class, of course, won by Daniel Downing. He is not able to take part tonight. And we come through turn number 8 here for Adam Delmont, still trying to find that 1/1000th of a second over Will Lyon. And as he laps around the circuit, he has got the 007 of Craig Walters behind, and Walters has been using Adam Delmont to pull through the field. Of course, remember Delmont's first lap he was behind Walters. Walters pulled over, and what a choice it was from the Pro-Am driver. He has put in a ridiculously fast lap in that Pro-Am field, and Jack Brown right now is about 5 cars back and a whooping 7/10 of a second back on Craig Walters as it stands. A big difference in that Pro-Am class that normally we see pretty close together. The semi-pro class are a lot closer together right now, and I don't think you can discount the pro class being close together. The entire field on your pros are 3 drivers separated by 34 hundredths of a second. Still no improvement there. In fact, 8/10 of a second slower for Adam Delmont, as it's just now Ben Gibbons who is yet without lap time. In fact, he is not getting out there on the circuit either, which means I think that Ben Gibbons is not going to be able to take part in the qualifying session here. With 3 minutes left on the board and a lap time of 2 minutes, we won't be seeing him put in a lap time. However, hopefully we will see him start the race around the Hungaroring circuit. Round number 10 of the season. It is the 10th and final round of competition. Of course, at Hungaroring, which was originally scheduled to be round number 5, it was postponed to the end of the season. And what a final race it is cracking up to be here. I mean, this is the closest qualifying we have had all season long, and what a way that we could be ending it here. We watched Thomas Kuhn. He's now fallen to 3rd in class because Chris London has moved up into 15th position here. Vigard Olsen Lear has found a huge amount of time, 11th overall right now, which is crucial for the chasing driver in the standings. But with this being said, Leah will take 5 bonus points for pole position and will be sat on 510 points heading into this one. Kuhn will be sat on 507, and I will be doing some of my own mathematics over the course of this one in your amateur field, because I do want to keep an eye on Kuhn and Leah and see if we can focus on what sorts of results we are going to getting out of this. And with that being said, it does mean that I am going to be opening up a document, and it doesn't open up on the main page, which is exactly what I wanted, because I need the point system up and open to me here so that I can keep an eye on the point system as the session progresses and as the race is progressing, so we can keep an eye on our overall points between Kuhn and Leah, and I can hopefully keep you up to date live as best as I can. With this one, we will have to keep an eye on fastest lap between them as well, and I will have to really focus on that because, of course, between the classes, I only see the overall fastest lap. I don't see the class fastest laps, which is something that frustrates me, actually. I wish that we did see the overlay showing us the fastest lap in each of the classes, but it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately, which is a real shame. 40 seconds left in qualifying here, which means drivers are just coming up to end their current lap times and see what they can do. John Brown is your fastest in your semi-pro field and looking to take pole position in that class. And Jay Cooley, he's not taking part in too many races over the course of this season. He is out there again for the final round and running 2nd in class, and it is Ronald de Jong right now 3rd in class, important for the championship in Sim Racing Forces Norway. Adam Delmont 2nd right now, and has his teammate Jack Brown down in 9th position. So it is important in the team's championship as well to keep an eye on Delmont and Brown, and Jack Brown, but also to keep an eye on Borkland and Ronald de Jong. With that being said, qualifying is done and dusted, and we are going to prepare ourselves for the first race of the day here and for the penultimate race of the season. Right then, it is going to be on the grid. Pole position for Will Lyon, a very strong result for him in this qualifying session, but it was just a thousandth of a second clear of Adam Delmont. Kim Borkland will start from 3rd ahead of Pro-Am leader Craig Walters. John Brown will start in 5th, and it will be Jay Cooley in 6th position. 7th for Ronald de Jong ahead of Mark Draper. Jack Brown in 9th and Kev Aylett in 10th, and importantly for Vigard Olsen Lear will be an extra 5 points to his name. He will have 510 points and now leading the amateur standings going into race 1. Carl Hardy sits in 12th position. 13th is for Stuart Gibbons ahead of JB Deshay. Dec Crowther in 15th ahead of Chris London. Lucas Henschel will start in 17th ahead of Fraser Garrity in 18th position. Daniel Lewis from 19th and Paul Hurley rounds out the top 20 on your grid. Thomas Coombs starts third in class, crucially 21st overall for your amateur field. Demis Titchler starts in 22nd. He is your Pro-Am leader. Even with this poor result here, he should still take the championship out of the first race. Torban Mayer will be starting this one in 23rd ahead of Chesney Vandenbroek and not able to get a lap time in on qualifying. Ben Gibbons will be starting at the very rear of your field. That is your grid then for the penultimate race of the season here. Round number 10, race number 1 is about to begin. 20 minutes of asking. That will be about 11 laps of asking as we prepare to get ourselves underway for race number 1. It is Will Lyons starting from the very front of this field. It is Adam Delmont alongside him, crucially ahead of Kim Borkland on the grid, and that is exactly what your championship leader will be wanting. He's not only a pro championship leader, of course, he is your overall championship leader as well, as everyone has made it to the grid, and we see 25 cars prepare to go racing for the second to last race of the season. We are green and away here for round number 10, race number 1, and we head up towards turn number 1. Immediately, Lyon goes defensive to the right-hand side. We have accident in the background. That's Ben Gibbons facing the wrong way at the rear of the field. Damage, but it is going to be Delmont to the inside of Will Lyon, and he's going to try and keep it to the inside. He needs to get this position early doors, as that's John Brown who's made a move on Kim Borkland just behind. Lyon is going to get the inside line now through turn number 2 as he's going to try and keep the nose ahead because Delmont doesn't want to get any contact. He stays behind and falls into second position. And on the start here, it has been disaster for Kim Borkland. He continues to fall down the order, down to 9th position at the start of this race for your championship contender. And at the moment, it is going to be championship for Adam Delmont, as that off the circuit was Craig Walters in the background. He manages to come back on, but it's slight contact with his teammate of Fraser Garrity. It is going to be side by side between Walters and Garrity for a podium in class there, but Garrity stays ahead and Walters just has to give that one up. Ben Gibbons will have to come down pit lane on the opening lap of asking. He has got a meatball flag out of this one. Thomas Coombs jumped the start, will have to also visit pit lane. 18 minutes already ticking down to on the clock here as we come up towards the end of the opening lap of asking, and the opening lap is where you're going to make most of your moves on a circuit like this. Jay Cooley to the outside of Kev Ayler here, and they have got the amateur leader Vigard Olsen Lear behind. That was Ayler running very deep, and Olsen Lear is going to take full advantage of that one, moving inside the top 10 right now. Going to be stuck on the outside of Ayler. We'll be hoping there's no contact in this fight, but Vigard Olsen Lear moves around the outside and will hold on to 10th position as it stands right now. But that is Kev Ayler looking to try and get back towards the inside, up towards the braking zone for turn number 1. But he is going to get there. It is going to be side by side here between the two drivers, pushing it slightly wide there from Olsen Lear. Ayler has that inside, but it will switch back across here up towards turn number 2. It will turn into Olsen Lear's line once more, and Vigard Olsen Lear does hold on to 10th position in this race ahead of Kev Ayler. Behind Daniel Lewis just keeps ahead of Mark Draper in 17th and 18th position. And that was, it looked like Kim Borkland trying to find his way back up the order. He fell down to 9th on the opening lap of asking, and now Fraser Garrity, now Borkland has had to do something. Stuart Gibbons is down and out of this one. What has happened to Stuart Gibbons here? It looks like an issue for Gibbons because he's pulled over straight to the side there with no clear reason. So I do think that that was a issue for him. Right, what's happened? This was London on the opening lap of the race. Has found himself spinning around after some contact. And then we had early doors off the line. Oh, Ben Gibbons slammed, he swerves all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit as he tried to clear himself of other cars, and it's Chesney Vandenbroek who was caught up in that one, and Vandenbroek right now running out there with severe damage to the front end of the 23 machine. Adam Delmont wants the race lead, but as it stands has to settle for second. But these points will be helping Delmont nonetheless, especially with Borkland sitting behind him as it stands. And even as it stands right now, Delmont would not mathematically win the championship in race number 1, but he will take a massive advantage going into the last race. As Ben Gibbons is down pit lane, Chris London is also down pit lane right now as well. And Mark Draper is on the rear of Daniel Lewis. They're fighting out for 16th and 17th position in this race. Up ahead, JP Deshay is getting close to the rear end of Deck Crowther, but they are in a lot of close trains right now between all of our drivers as we head up towards the turn number 4, which kicks off to the left here, and very easy to push yourself out wide, as we see a number of cars doing behind there, and one of those being Daniel Lewis went extremely wide in that chase behind. As it looked for a moment like we might have that we might have JB Deshay looking to try and make the move up the inside, maybe even Deck Crowther doing something, but they do settle themselves back in once more then in this train of drivers. It would be very difficult to make an overtake on the back end of this circuit for the drivers, because they're not going to be wanting to risk crashing out with championship points on the line, especially our contenders. Of course, they definitely won't want to be falling down and losing any points, which I think is why we saw Delmont take it a little bit easier than I think we otherwise would have done normally. As fan attack issues there for Stuart Gibbons, and it means that he will find himself down after he towed down to pit lane. And Ben Gibbons is out of this one as well. Chris London and down pit lane is, I believe that Ben Gibbons has had another issue, possibly. He certainly has. This is what has happened to Ben Gibbons. It's through the 6-7 chicane. He spins himself around, and straight away you saw that as he hit the wall, the rear left suspension just collapsed. And that is some major issues for his car, and he has to pull it over to the side on that one. Right, Ronald de Jong looking to help out his team here in the fight for the team's championship. Ronald de Jong chasing down John Brown, looking to take first in your semi-pro field, but also take third overall, which will significantly help his team, with Kim Borkland sitting 5th in this race right now as well. Jack Brown down to 7th. Of course, the team's championship is another one that we need to keep an eye on between the Next Gen Racing drivers and the Sim Racing Forces Norway drivers. Of course, Ronald de Jong and Kim Borkland teaming up for this series in 2 different teams. They've decided to come together, and that's why we see that mishmash of a livery on their cars when we come through turn number 11 now. And de Jong is all over the rear of John Brown in the fight for victory in class, but third overall as well. And you'll see Delmont still on the rear end of Will Lyon here as we head up towards lap number 5 in this race. And I do like these circuits that are rather long to lap, and the reason being is because the time just absolutely disappears underneath you, because it's not like Silverstone National, for example, next season. We're going to see about 22 laps of asking. It is going to be a very long feeling race because of the number of laps you're going on. However, in the timed races where you have these long laps, it means that you're only going to be doing 11 laps here. The time disappears so quickly. There was trainer drivers behind doing some ducking and weaving. Jay Cooley looking to try and move past Jack Brown and potentially try and catch up with the rest of the semi-pros, including Carl Hardy, but Cooley does have the amateur leader of Vegard Olsen-Lear behind, sitting in 9th position. And Vegard Olsen-Lear has gained a number of overall positions in this race as well, really helping the championship because Thomas Kuhn is 22nd overall. Now, as it stands, shall we do a little bit of mathematics as they race? I certainly am going to give it a go. Sitting in 9th position, Olsen-Lear is going to gain an extra 48 points, whereas sitting down in 22nd for Kuhn is going to be giving him an additional 29 points, which would separate them by 19 points. Lear is already 3 points ahead. There would be a 22-point advantage in the sway of Olsen-Lear. That is without any bonus lap points. And with where Vegard Olsen-Lear is right now, he is also going to be involved in the invert, which will place him 6th on the grid as it stands for the final race of the day. Adam Dermont still chasing down Will Lyon here, not looking to try and make any risky moves for the lead, of course, but also he will be thinking, how can I take yet another victory this season? Ronald de Jong, though, looks to the inside of John Brown through the final corner, and there is contact for the lead of your semi-pros. A slight nudge of wheel-to-wheel racing there, and Ronald de Jong moves up to 3rd. John Brown is not going to have all of that, though, because he is going to move back to the inside of Ronald de Jong here towards turn number 1. Brown has the inside line. Kim Borkland can see the semi-pros fighting in front of him. Will be hoping to try and move on to the podium position. John Brown, for the time being, holds on to 3rd place as they come up towards turn number 2. Is de Jong going to make the move to the inside? No, he decides to stay behind. He knows he's got Borkland behind him as well, and going to the inside would have put him on the outside on this crucial turn number 3. As we head up towards the 4th turn on the circuit, this battle now for 3rd position includes Kim Borkland, who dropped down to 9th on the opening lap of the asking. He is in a recovery drive right now. We jump back to have a little bit of a look at JP Deshay, because Deshay is pushing Mark Draper through turn number 4. Now looks to the outside of turn number 5. It's too wide for Deshay, and he opens the door for Daniel Lewis. Are they going to be side by side into turn number 6? Almost, but Lewis was deciding it's safe to back out of that one. That would have been a really difficult corner to try and get towards the inside 4. And with that being said, Daniel Lewis stays behind Deshay for the time being. They're in separate classes, but they are fighting for 16th position overall, looking up towards Mark Draper, who as it stands will be taking the pole position in race number 2 with our top 15 invert. Back to our fight for the overall podium though, because Ronald de Jong once again is on the back of John Brown and Vegard Olsen-Lear. Your amateur leader has had an issue and has gone around, and that is not what he wants in the championship. Was it contact? It was contact for Vegard Olsen-Lear. That is not what Vegard Olsen-Lear would have wanted. It was Kev Aylett who went into the back of Olsen-Lear. Crucially for Lear, he holds on to onto pole position in the invert. But that is going to have a significant impact on points now. Kuhn still being in 22nd position. Lear now will only be getting 36 points. With that one bit of contact, he's just lost 12 points that he would have had in hand going into the final race of the season. Mark Draper, though, looking to now get past Kev Aylett. Aylett pushes it wide through turn number 4, and now Draper getting right to the rear end. Has a little bit of a wobble. Aylett moves to the inside. I think Aylett might have a slowdown there that he is trying to get rid of. Does it invite Olsen-Lear in? Olsen-Lear is on the outside there, gets to the inside line, has to settle it in though. Olsen-Lear will be wanting to push, but also knows that his championship rival is all the way down in 22nd position as Aylett off the circuit again there. Are we going to see Aylett defending hard from Olsen-Lear in their fight for what is now for 14th position. JB Dejay is back into this one. Aylett moves to the right-hand side and lets Olsen Leah through. Following the contact there, I thought that might be what Kev Aylett would have wanted to do. After the initial piece of contact, Kev Aylett has allowed Vegard Olsen Leah to make that move back through. It'll be 14th instead of 9th for Vegard Olsen Leah, but it does hinder Kev Aylett as he falls a number of extra places as well. Unfortunately, contact happened, but that was an on-track solve of that one. Will we see penalty points applied? We will have to wait and find out. Fraser Garrity looks to the inside of his teammate Craig Walters, but they don't swap positions. And that is Dek Crowther just chasing on behind. Right, whilst we were watching all of that go on, there is a fight between Jay Cooley and Jack Brown. Cooley's on the inside, Brown on the outside. They recently swapped positions. Jack Brown is leading your Pro-Am field and will be getting 8th position in this one right now. Crucial for the team's championship, but he will be wanting to get back into 7th and past Jay Cooley, who is running 4th in class right now. Cooley will be wanting to close down that 3-second advantage to Carl Hardy. I've just looked at the time though. It is only 5 minutes left in this one. Where has the time gone? 5 minutes to go. And with that being said, we'll see about 3 more laps of asking. Jay Cooley holds on to 7th place right now, and Adam Dalmont has seen the rear end of the number 20 machine all race long. Even though it won't be a race victory, will it be something that Dalmont just agrees with and takes the points for? He will be thinking about the championship over individual results right now, and there's no point risking an accident that throws him behind. Kim Borkland even puts him out of the race. Ronald de Jong looking to try and take this podium, and Andre Borkland behind in 5th position is still going to be trying to look to get through onto an overall podium here, not only for his own points but for the team points as well. And we're trying to pull de Jong, the 2 teammates there, of course, in de Jong and Borkland as they come out of the final corner and over the timing line. De Jong is just a few tenths of a second behind Brown, but I don't think we are going to see that opportunity open up for him on the start of the 9th lap of asking for these drivers. Through turn number 1 they go. And it will be, it is going to be John Brown ahead of Ronald de Jong, still ahead of Kim Borkland. That's Carl Hardy trying to put in some good laps for his championship as well in that semi-pro field. And he'll be hoping to take a class podium. With that 6th place overall will be a strong result as the gap at the front goes down to about about 1.5 tenths of a second, but it does open up a little bit. Line running a slightly wider line there. We are going to get to about 2.5 laps to go as they come through the 6-7 chicane. They are running around in formation, and as I said, I think that's the way that Dalmont is just going to accept this one as it stands, because he is going to be taking a huge amount of points with this result. He'll be taking 70 points to his name. Kim Borkland will be taking 56. That is an extra 14 points, which will open that gap up to 54 points between the 2 of them. No, it'll be 59 points between the 2 of them, which means that all Dalmont will have to do in the final race is finish 4th, and there is absolutely no way that Borkland can win the championship. Right, we come up towards the end of the lap here, of end of lap number 9, and we'll have 2 more laps in it, as this is the midfield fight that we are currently watching. Mark Draper chasing down Lucas Henschel ahead, and in one of the few cars that remained in the Honda, did not jump across into the new Audi, of course. Last week, a lot of drivers making that free jump into the Audi. They get 1 jump per season, and they switched cars with the release of the new machine. It proved to be the right choice at Road America last week here at Hungaroring, though. It is the car at the very front of the field, I won't deny that. However, the Hondas are still looking very, very strong out there. It looks like we may have just lost Fraser Garrity from this race due to connection issues, which is a real shame for Garrity. And he will pull his way down the field and looks like potentially out of this one. And that is a real shame, because that was a strong looking result for Fraser Garrett. He was running ahead running ahead of his teammate. In fact, he was running up in second in class for Fraser Garrity, and I know the frustrations on that. I was running in the 4th position in my own race on yesterday evening, and then followed that was connection issues, and it is more frustrating than binning it and throwing it into a wall, actually, connection issues. So I know the frustrations there. Ronald de Jong, though, finally has an opportunity on John Brown up towards turn number 12. Ronald de Jong has been following behind all race long. There's a little bit of a nudge there. De Jong wobbles. Brown back to the inside. De Jong is wide here. Kim Borkland looking to potentially get involved. No, he backs out of it. He sees his teammate ahead of him, fighting it out for a win in class. The white flag flies, as it was just a moment ahead for Ronald de Jong, but he knows where he can do it now. And will we see it happen again? As we get onto the breaking point of turn number 1, de Jong will stay behind. This is what was going there. It was a great run through turn number 11 for de Jong. Got to that inside line. And then it was the exit of turn number 12, in which there was just a little nudge. There's the nudge, a little bit of a wobble. De Jong went deep with that. It allowed Brown to get back through in that fight. We have a little bit of a look in this front field. Delmont still chasing on behind. De Jong still getting pushed by Borkland here, getting that help from the teammate. What is de Jong going to decide to do if he cannot get past Brown? Are they going to remain in formation with de Jong ahead of Borkland? Of course, this is going to give Borkland an advantage into the second race of the day, because Borkland will start higher up the field. He will start 11th, whereas Delmont will start 14th. And we know the inverts don't always go the way that Delmont would hope for. He's been caught up in a lot of incidents in those second inverted grids. That being said, though, it is going to be a run through turn number 13, and Will Lyon is going to take race victory here in the first race of the day in the final round of the season. Will Lyon is your race victor. Adam Delmont will take home second. Will John Brown be able to hold it ahead of Ronald de Jong on the last lap of asking to take home third overall and the winning class? He certainly will. John Brown takes victory ahead of de Jong. Borkland comes home in 5th position. Jack Brown, helping out his teammate Next Gen Racing Green, comes across the line in 8th position, and Victor in your Pro-Am field. And crucially for Vegard Olsen-Lear, he has recovered back to 13th position in this one. It won't be the points that he would have got for 9th, however, 40 points for him. And with Thomas Kuhn coming home in 21st position, this is, of course, your championship fight that is still very much ongoing. With 21st position and 30 points for Thomas Kuhn, is an extra 10 points to his name, which means Leah will be sitting with 550 points, not including a fastest lap bonus, and Thomas Kuhn will be sitting with 537. He is sitting now at a 13-point disadvantage. That being said, let's have a look at our fastest lap times, and it is very much 3 bonus points for fastest lap for Olsen-Lear. He will be sitting on 553 points, which means that Thomas Kuhn needs to overcome what will now be a 16-point disadvantage. Olsen-Lear will be starting the final race of the season in 3rd position. However, every time Vegard Olsen-Lear has found himself to the very, very front of the field, we have seen him get taken out. So we shall have to see what happens in the final race. And that being said, let's have a look at our race results here at the final race of, final race 1 of the season. Will Lyon took victory ahead of Adam Delmont. John Brown came home in 3rd position. Ronald de Jong in 4th. Kim Borkland came home in 5th position there ahead of Carl Hardy. Jay Cooley took home 7th in the end. Jack Brown taking victory in class came home 8th. And Mark Draper and Deck Crowther rounded out your top 10. Craig Walters came home in 11th. Ada Lucas Henschel. Vigard Olsen Leo winning in class takes home 13th. JP DJ in 14th. And Daniel Lewis will be starting the second race of the day and final race of the season from pole position in our top 15 invert. Kev Aylett will be starting finished that one in 16th. He'll be starting the next one there as well. And a Paul Hurley, Torban Mail in 18th, and a Dennis Titcher and Chesney Vandenbroek rounding out your amateur class podium and your top 20. Thomas Coombe took home 21st in the end. It was not a race to remember for him. Fraser Garrity came home in 22nd, 2 laps down with the disconnect. Could have taken a podium in class, but unfortunately he had the connection issues. Stuart Gibbons had wheel issues. Ben Gibbons had driving issues. And Chris London had start line issues, which means that they all had their own separate problems. And hopefully we'll see all 25 out for the final race of the season. That being said, then, we have a few minutes to go left in this one. We will try to have a quick word with a couple of our drivers. We'll have a quick word here with Adam Delmont. Adam, you were taking it easy there, running around in second position. I am assuming that you are feeling it is all about the championship right now, and you've all but confirmed it. Is that why you were staying behind?
Yeah, obviously I've had a rough couple of weeks. I've had a few things going off in life that has just unfortunately taken my mind out of things for a couple of weeks. So obviously the first 2 weeks anyway, I'd dropped rounds to spare. So it was like, I'd been involved in some area there and I had to be up and away early the following morning. So I packed up early, relying on my 2 spare drop rounds. And then obviously they changed the car. I'm not a massive fan of it. I've learned to find a bit of pace in it, but they've changed the characteristics, which for me, I don't quite like it as much. So it's taking some getting used to. So the idea, mate, is just to try and cruise it home and just scrape enough points, because I've obviously lost a massive amount over the last 3 rounds.
It has been a very difficult, obviously, few weeks for you. However, it does mean that you now go into the final round with, I believe, I'm counting about a 55-point advantage, which does mean that even if you come home at the very back of the field, I believe that Borkland does have to win the race. So get home to the end. The championship's yours.
I will do my best.
All right, good luck for the final round.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Adam Delmont there. He came home second in that one. He'll be starting in 14th. He's talked about, obviously, a few bad weekends, but it all comes down to the final round, of course. And with that being said, we do look at that fight in the amateur class. Thomas Coombe has fallen behind at the moment. We do not have the opportunity, unfortunately, to speak to either Thomas Coombe or Vigard Olsen Lea going into the final round of the season. But it is going to be an interesting one in that amateur field. Out of the first race of the day as well, it means that Dennis Titchler will take your championship in your Pro-Am field. So joining Daniel Downing as a confirmed champion this season, he will take the championship in your Pro-Am standings. That means the only 2 classes left to decide are your pros and your ams. Delmont, all he has to do is cross the line at the end of the race. He will be season champion. As far as my mathematics are concerned, they're not the best mathematics, I must say. However, as far as they're concerned, Adam Delmont just needs to cross the line, because if he crosses the line in 25th position, he will take 26 points, and even with the 75 points for a race victory, if Borkland is able to get there, the gap is too big for Borkland to be able to recover. This is all, of course, on my own terrible mathematics abilities out of that one. If I look at points, it will be 962 points on the way of Delmont. For Borkland, it will be 890... No, it'll be 901, or 902 points, in fact, which means it's a 60-point advantage. Yes, it means that Delmont just has to cross the line victory. Cross the line, get points on the board, even if it's 25th and last. Delmont will be champion if he can get to the end of the race. That's all he has to do. Thomas Kuhn has to do a lot more to now catch up what is a 16-point deficit to Vegard Olsen-Lear that I have done a lot better job at calculating. Right then, let's set our grid for the final race of the season. Drivers get themselves down onto the track, and it is going to be Daniel Lewis starting from pole position in the final race of the season ahead of JB Deshay. Vegard Olsen-Lear, can he finally turn the bad luck of starting towards the front of race number 2 and not find his way into a wall? Lucas Henschel will be starting in 4th out of Craig Walters. Dec Crowther from 6th position. Mark Draper will be starting in 7th out of Jack Brown. Jay Cooley from 9th, and Carl Hardy will start in 10th position. Borkland will find himself on 11th on the grid ahead of Ronald de Jong. 13th will be the way of John Brown. Adam Delmont will start this one in 14th, potential champion ahead of Will Lyon, race 1 winner from 15th position. Kev Aylett will start this one in 16th out of Paul Hurley. Torban Mail in 18th place on the grid ahead of Demis Titcheler. Chasing Vandenbroek from 20th. Thomas Kuhn has it all to do from 21st position for a potential amateur championship. Fraser Garrity in 22nd ahead of Stuart Gibbons. Ben Gibbons will start in 24th, and Chris London from 25th and last on the grid. And with that being said, even with our DNS from race number 1, we see all 25 cars make their way back onto the grid for the final race of the season. 25 laps on 25 minutes on the board. It'll be an additional 3 laps of racing according to my estimations on my software. Of course, I know the word is actually estimations, but I like the word estimations. Right, 25 minutes on the board here for the final round. We are a go for the 10th and final time on race number 2, up towards turn number 1. A great launch for Daniel Lewis. Vegard Olsen-Lear gets off the line really well and gets past JB Deshay. Up towards turn number 1. He wants to keep it clean, and he does keep it clean. Are we going to be clean? Behind, towards turn number 1. Adam Delmont has contact through turn 1. However, everyone exits facing the right way. We've now got to get through turn number 2 and hope that we can settle ourselves down as drivers continue to fight for any position that they possibly can here. Adam Delmont and Kim Borkland are next to each other on the circuit here, but Borkland goes for a move around the outside of Dec Crowther there. Does he get it done? Because he's disappeared for a moment. It looks like he does, and it looks like another wheel issue in the background for Stuart Gibbons, which is a real shame as he pulls off to the side. And what could have been for him in a strong start to the evening has ended up being a very poor end to both races with wheel issues. However, this is now Adam Delmont under attack. John Brown! Delmont finds himself sideways. He knows, I just need to make it to the end. I don't need to get any additional points. I just need to get a point for finishing. Don't wreck me out. Talking about wrecking me out, there are issues in the background, and Demis Titcheler, your Pro-Am champion, finds the rear end of his car pointing in all sorts of which directions there, and will have to come down pit lane to sort that one out. As Kim Borkland moves up to 7th here, he is going to do his best to try and maximise his points in this race, but as I say, as long as Delmont gets points on the board, he will be champion. Right, Thomas Kuhn moves 2nd in class right now. It's 19th position overall. But unfortunately for him, Vegard Olsen-Lear is fighting out for the lead, for the front of this one, so I should say, for 2nd position. Jay Cooley gets to the inside here. How hard is Olsen-Lear going to fight? The points are in Olsen-Lear's favour. All he has to do is finish ahead of Thomas Kuhn. He doesn't even need to do that. How hard is he going to be fighting for an overall podium here? Craig Walters gets the inside of Jay Cooley, and that is the Pro-Am leader now, getting past 2nd in your semi-pro field. We head up towards turn number 2. Craig Walters stays ahead of Jay Cooley as they come into the 2nd turn here. A lot more positions being going for. This is what happened to Demis Titcheler on the last lap. And it was contact and turned by Torben Mail, and that was just avoiding it from Ben Gibbons there. That could have been extremely close in all of that as he sees the accident, and there He comes across and Ben Gibbons gets down onto the brakes, gives up time, but keeps the car clean in this one after having to come down pit lane early doors in race number 1 after the accident on the start-finish straight. And you'd think that that would be strange, but it's not the first time it has happened in the SRL TCR League of a start-finish line accident. We've seen actually a number of times now. But actually, notably, we saw major issues on the start-finish line in, I believe that was race number 2 as well, actually, in that one instead of race number 1. But we do come through. Will Lyon now looking to try and move his way back up the field and get some points on the board. He will finish 3rd in the Pro Championship at the end, but he will be looking to try and take a victory with that. Adam Delmont now side by side with John Brown goes to the outside of turn number 12. It'll switch to the inside as the Pro driver and potential Pro champion is running around. He's all but the champion going into this final round. Just needs to get the checkered flag. It doesn't matter if it is in the midfield, at the front, or at the back. Thomas Kuhn holding on to 19th position right now. Crucial for him to stay ahead of the rest of the amateurs. However, what he doesn't want is Vigard Olsen-Lear to be having a nice, easy ride in P number 4. I think selfishly he'll be thinking, can something happen again to Olsen-Lear like it has twice this season for Olsen-Lear, where he has been at the front of the field in race number 2. We saw him getting crashed out of the lead, of course, all the way back in Long Beach after some contact there, and it cost him a very, very strong result. He again got hit out from, I believe it was the top 5 a bit later on in the season as well. He's sitting in 4th right now. I don't want to bring it down on him because Vigard Olsen-Lear is currently leading that championship by 16 points. And he'll be wanting to stay out at the very front of this one, looking to get the 3 bonus points for fastest lapping class anyway. Right now, looking to do so. He's found a lot of pace. Like I said, I do think we'll see Olsen-Lear and Kuhn up into the Pro-Am Championship in season number 11. They are both returning in season 11, so I do expect them to be up there. Olsen-Lear right now proving to show that he has got some pace and maintaining up here with the big guns as well, in the likes of your semi-pro class as well, not just your Pro-Ams, but your semi-pro class. And that's what I've noticed actually, a bit with your Pro-Am class and your semi-pro class. It's nice to see, because it's nice for the drivers to get their own individual championships, as this is Kim Borkland fighting to get up the inside of Jack Brown. This is crucial for the team's championship fight, and that is Borkland past Brown there as they fight it out for the team's championship. But it is also crucial not just for... Sorry, what was I talking about? I've lost it now. Anyway, we watch Jack Brown. He's falling down to 7th position. Kim Borkland's up to 6th position, as I try to remember what on earth it was that I was talking about as we had that overtake going on there. Will Lyon and Adam Delmont momentarily switch around positions out. Through the corner, Will Lyon was just a little bit wider through the turn. Across the timing line, Craig Walters is faster in the 007 machine. As we head into the 19 minutes to go, 4th lap of asking, we'll be looking at 11 more race laps in this one, the same length as we saw in race number 1, of course. Of course, I was talking about the mix of the classes, wasn't I? The semi-pros and the pro-ams, they get a nice championship fight between the two of them. Of course, they don't have to worry about as many cars, because season number 9 we saw a huge field of pro-am drivers, so it was nice to get this semi-pro field included in it. And there is a mix between your pro-ams and your semi-pros, definitely, and through the season it's ebbed and flowed as to which class is actually the faster class, as Will Lyon now looks to get up the inside of Deck Kraus. There it is, side by side. Is he going to try and keep it to the inside of turn number 6? No, he backs out of it. Delmont's there on the outside though, so he's going to have to keep it just tighter than he otherwise would have done, and he does remain behind for the time being in 10th position, with Adam Delmont running in 11th. But yeah, the ebb and flowing of the semi-pros and your pro-ams has been nice to see, and I think we will continue to see that ebb and flow next season as well as we go into this 11th season competition. Of course, we get 2 pre-season events, but we will be back next week to show those, as Adam Delmont looks to get up the inside of Will Lyon. He followed Lyon all the way through race number 1. He's to the inside of Will Lyon. They fight it out for 10th position overall. Adam Delmont on the outside now. Will Lyon holds the inside line, and Lyon remains ahead as we get on to the braking zone for turn number 14. And Will Lyon will keep it ahead of Adam Delmont for the time being. We know that Delmont's not pushing as hard as he normally would. He is thinking about just trying to get it to the end, getting those points to his name, but he is also a racer at heart. He looks to the inside of Will Lyon, and that door does open up for him. Once again, he can see Crowther and Dijay fighting out as well, just ahead, and he wants to get past all of these guys. He wants to find some extra points, have a strong final round of the season, not just take what comes, as he does have to stay behind Will Lyon once more. Lyon looking for a slightly different line on Crowther ahead, but they'll have to stay behind as it stands. Up towards the front of this one though, and that is going to be Daniel Lewis, your race leader, who slid his way through turn number 4 and now loses out to JB Dijay, and Olsen Leah is looking to try and take a podium in this one. Vigard Olsen Leah gets to the inside of Daniel Lewis, who falls from first to fourth in a matter of corners there. Daniel Lewis just falling and falling and falling. And he goes behind Kim Borkland as well. Will this be Lucas Henschel trying to get his way past in all of this as well? Let's see if we can have a little bit of a look at what happened to Daniel Lewis. It was just too much speed. The whole rear end kicked out of him. He kept it going straight, but doing that, I think he then runs deep, and it just put him offline, and everyone took full advantage of it as Vigard Olsen Leah went up his inside as well. It then put him off through the chicane, which then put him deep onto the grass, and then that invited Portland in for that overtake. So you can see how it spirals at a circuit like this. Adam Delmont, though, now looking to make another move past Will Lyon to see if he can confirm it this time. He's on the outside, Lyon to the inside. They've got John Brown just behind them, thinking what is going to go on here. It's 2 by 2 into turn number 1 as JB Dijay and Dec Crowther are side by side ahead. Dijay stays ahead. Delmont, does he stay ahead of Will Lyon this time? He's going to get the inside of turn number 2 and the inside of Dec Crowther as well. Delmont really waiting for it. He's going to be side by side with Crowther though, through turn number 3 and up to 4. Delmont will have that inside line, and Will Lyon is looking at trying to fight back in it right now. Smoke ahead, but it's side by side through turn number 4. Delmont's going to be stuck on the outside of Dec Crowther. Will Lyon trying to get back involved in this one. Delmont holds it on the outside, still side by side with Crowther. Are we going to see it side by side through the 6th, 7th chicane? We certainly are. Delmont rides the curbing to the inside. Lyon knows he needs to get up behind Delmont. He's going to be running the faster line at the moment, and Delmont is going to get momentarily ahead. There's still a nose in here from Dec Crowther. Lyon ducks to the inside though. Delmont gets that position, and now it's Will Lyon's opportunity around the outside of turn number 11 up towards turn number 12 now. Crowther is going to have the inside line. Will Lyon is going to try and get it on the brakes on the outside. He gets the overlap, and he will get the position up to 10th place for Will Lyon before the braking zone, and that is the ever deep dive from John Brown, looking to try take the opportunity to get past Dec Crowther into turn number 13, and he certainly does. John Brown moves into the semi-pro podium, 11th place overall, and what a lap number 6 that was for all of that midfield fight. Up towards turn number 1 though, and it is going to be Carl Hardy looking at a slightly different line up towards turn 1. He stays behind. Right, back towards the front here, because Jake Cooley is running around in 2nd position. He is looking to try and take the overall race victory. They've got Kim Borkland chasing on behind here, but we are halfway through this race and in time, and at the end of this lap we'll be halfway through this race in laps. Chris London out of this race, unfortunately, about 2 laps to go, which is a real shame for him. Bonus points going the way of Borkland, but with Delmont still inside the top 10, it is championship to Delmont. He will join Downing and Titchler, and as it stands, Vigard Olsen Leah, who is looking to get the strongest result of his season, if he can get it home in 4th position. Right now, that'll be an absolutely phenomenal job for the amateur driver, who has 15 cars between himself and the driver second in class. Onto the brakes for turn number 12 right now. And Adam Delmont has made his way past JB Dejay behind. Dejay is not going to give it up though. We'll try to fight him into turn number 12, but it will switch over into Delmont's direction. A little bit of a nudge, another little bit of a nudge there. But Delmont keeps it going forward, and Will Lyons says, okay, I'm going to take advantage of that one. I'm going to get through, and Dejay in all of that has to come down pit lane. And you can see why after all of that bumping and banging. That is the legacy Audi, the only legacy Audi out there, has some major damage on his car, and he will get that one fixed, which means Dejay falls down the order. Thomas Kuhn therefore jumps up into 18th position overall, but it just isn't going to work out for him. If Olsen Lear was to crash out of this race and finish, let's say, last position, which would be right now 23rd position in this race, he'll be taking 28 points, which means on the top of my head, Thomas Kuhn needs to finish in 8th position or better, and that is with Vigard Olsen Lear finishing in 23rd position. So this championship is all but Lear's right now, just like it is all but Delmont's at the moment as well. We are going to know our championship standings before we even get to the official standings being displayed for us. Of course, the one that we won't be, well, I could work out the points, but it would be a lot harder to figure them out, will be the team standings. That's the one that is still open right now between the Sim Racing, between Borkland's team, isn't it? Sim Racing Forces Norway, and between Next Gen Racing as well with that of Adam Delmont. So they are both going for the championship standings in the team's standings, which we will need to have confirmation of at the end of all of this. 10 minutes left to go of the season then, as Craig Walters still leading ahead of Jay Cooley. It is then Kim Portland behind and Vigard Olsen Lear. The top 4 positions in this race are your rainbow colours. It's your Pro-Am leading, your Semi-Pro in second, your Pro in third, your Am in fourth. If Jay Cooley is able to get past Craig Walters and Kim Portland is able to take the overall victory, it would be the 4 classes in class order as well at the very front. But it is the Audi that is proving to be the best in this reverse grid race. This is your battle for your podium positions right now. It is Craig Walters in the 007 machine leading the way ahead of Jay Cooley in the 89 machine and Kim Portland in the 884 machine. A little bit of smoke being kicked up from each of them as we ride on board here with Kim Portland. He pushes wide through turn number 3, and of course they'll be wanting to keep it within side track limits and not extend it too much and get any penalties for track limits in this one as we get onto the brakes of turn number 5. A little bit of smoke there from Craig Walters at the front. Of course, this is a difficult one to overtake on. Defending is a lot easier than overtaking here. With that being said, we have seen drivers move all the way through the field. Portland started this one in 11th position, of course, and he has managed to make his way up into P number 3. Just different lines being raced here as drivers try to figure out where they can find speed. Portland thinking, where can he place his car to get his way past Jay Cooley? Perhaps before he needs to get past Craig Walters, could he try and push Cooley into a fight with Walters that allows Portland to benefit the most from that? But as they stand right now, still very, very close in the lead, fighting. Again, none of these for none of these for class positions, but they are all for overall positions, and overall positions are where the point counts. And in the final race of the season, you want to be the driver to say, I won the last race of the season. At the moment, Craig Walters is the man who is trying to take that crown. Jay Cooley, however, is trying his hardest to take that away from him, and Kim Portland sitting behind, thinking, how can he find his way through? Of course, wanting to help his teammate De Jong in this race, sitting in 12th position right now, which gives advantage to Jack Brown and to Adam Delmont, who are 6th and 7th place. And that does mean, actually, as it stands, Next Gen Racing Green are going to be your team's champion as well. As we come through turn number 3, Will Lyon gets past Lucas Henschel, so does John Brown as Lucas Henschel has found his way into the barrier here, and it's a really difficult place for him because he has cars coming through that hairpin. He's had to wait till everyone passes him by before he's able to do anything. Was it contact with Will Lyon? It was just a little bit of a nudge, and the whole car got sent around. And actually, Henschel did the exact thing he should have there. He accelerated forward to get himself further off of the racing line as best he can and get himself out of the way. So a lot of time lost for Lucas Henschel there. Your amateur champion from season number 9, of course. He's had a difficult go out there in the Pro-Ams. He's been figuring it out, but he has been finding a little bit of pace as the races have gone on. Today, though, he's fallen down the order with that spin. Right, Ronald de Jong is on the back of Deck Crowther there, fighting out for 10th and 11th position as Adam Delmont gets past his teammate Jack Brown. I'm sure there was not too much of a fight there, as Will Lyon also makes his way past Jack Brown in that one. In fact, we'll go have a little bit of a look at how that one occurred. Brown in the number 13 machine. Pulls over to the side, yep, allows his teammate through, and with it, he tried to go defensive on Lyon. Lyon jumped to the inside, but that was definitely a team play there for Jack Brown, letting his teammate through, but he did inadvertently give up position to Will Lyon as well. Lyon knew what was going on, and he took full advantage of that one. Right then, we head up towards turn number 1 in this fight between Crowther and Dion. Dion looks to the inside once more. Will have to remain behind with looking at 4 more laps to go in the season. It has been a strong season. Adam Delmont is en route to take your pro and overall championship victory. Daniel Downing, not out there today, is your semi-pro champion. Titchler is your Pro-Am champion. He's had a poor evening here today, but he had enough points in hand over Craig Walters, who did not, in the end, turn up today anyway, if I'm not mistaken. No, he did. He did. He's winning this one, actually. He's winning this one. 75 points to his name. That was my memory going off for a moment because I was looking a bit further down the order. Craig Walters, actually, 75 points. Yeah, it was just too much. If Walters had this sort of result in race number 1, he would have been able to pull it back on Titchler, but this is not going to be enough for Craig Walters. Titchler will be taking 28 points to his name, even with the win from Craig Walters. It just isn't going to be enough. Titchler is your champion in Pro-Ams. But in your amateur class, it all came down to the final head. 2 points coming into this one, difference between Coombe and Leah. But Vigard Olsen Leah taking a strong result in race number 1, and with it has taken I have to say, a semi-pro style race here. I think we're going to see Vigard Olsen Leah in the Pro-Ams next season, but the pace that he has shown here today has been worthy of a semi-pro. But I do think we'll see him promoted into the Pro-Am class for next season, as he has had his ups and downs over the course of the season. Just a very strong evening of racing here today. They came across the line. It's 3 laps to go this season, and this is your fight for your race victory, the final victory of the season. It is Craig Walters leading the way. It is Jay Cooley in 2nd position, and it is Kim Borkland in 3rd position right now. Borkland just couldn't beat Delmont to the victory in the end of this one, but he has been doing a nice job overall, though, in getting points onto the board, crucially for his team. I just don't think it's going to be enough to take either of those championships, but what a season it's been for Kim Borkland, and has had a real resurgence towards the end of this season as well. And as I look at the sign-ups for season number 11, Borkland is going to be back out in that field, and once again we'll see him in the pro field, of course, for season number 11. Yes, I can't believe we're already approaching the 11th season of competition. That's absolutely mental. We stepped into the SRL TV's commentary booth here at Joseph Wright Broadcasting back in the middle of season number 9, and we are already at the end of season number 10. Season 11 starts in 3 weeks' time, but over the next 2 weeks we do have racing coming your way here on SRL TV. We have got the pre-season events in our for the season 11 lead up, and even if you're not signed up to the championship, you can get yourself down onto the track and see what it's all about in those pre-season events. They will be broadcasted live here on SRL TV and Joseph Wright Broadcasting, and also you can then get yourself signed up into season number 11 as well. Do it quick whilst there are still sign-up. Sturdy drivers have been confirmed. and those final 20 spots are gonna go quick. There is no doubt about that. Right, Cooley has a great advantage on Craig Walters here. Up towards turn number 1. Walters stays defensive. Cooley's going to go for the late move to the outside. Jay Cooley tries to take race victory here. Tries to move into the lead of the race. Out of turn number 1. He looked to the inside of turn number 2. Will back out again. And now trying to force Walters to go deep. They know they've only got 2 laps in it. Cooley wants to try and do something now before it is done. Borkland's watching this fight and thinking, yep, do you know what? You're right. Now is the time to do something, to make our way through. Right, to the inside of turn number 4, as that was defensive from Walters. As Borkland, a little bit of a slide there, backs out of it ever so slightly as he just holds the car, but he is still all over the rear of this fight now. Adam Delmont has closed up to within a second of Vigard Olsen-Lear, and Will Lyon just a further second back. Can Olsen-Lear lose it down to 6th by the end of this one? Even if he does, this is still an extremely strong result, as that's Borkland to the inside of Cooley. A slight nudge there, but this has just allowed Walters to gain a half a second advantage up towards the final lap of the race. Borkland probably realising a victory was out of touch, wanted to try and move his way up to second and put Cooley off of the line. It was a slight touch, causing Cooley to have a slide in the JC Academy Emerald machine, but he does hold on to second. He now has to try and goes back up to Walters along the front straight. Is he going to get pushed by Borkland, and are they going to work together, or are they going to be fighting up towards turn number 1? We come through turn 14 for the penultimate time. The white flag is going to be out here, and we head on to the final lap of season 10 here in the SRL TCR League as we go up towards turn number 1. Craig Walters holds a 6/10 advantage over Jay Cooley through the first turn. It was slightly wide by Cooley, slightly wide by Borkland. They keep the gap between them right now. Adam Delmont is all over the rear of Vigard Olsen-Lear. Lear goes slightly deep into turn number 2. Delmont looking to potentially take 4th position overall here as we come through turn 3 and up towards 4. You can see that gap that Walters holds over Cooley into turn number 4. Delmont all over the rear of Vigard Olsen-Lear now. We go into the second sector. It's all about trying to get these S's done right now. Grass up ahead, being kicked just a little bit. Cooley on a slightly different line here. Looks like he might be able to hold second. But for Craig Walters, crucially, looks like he might be able to hold the race victory in this one. Delmont all over the rear of Vigard Olsen-Lear. Looks to the inside. It's side by side between Vigard Olsen-Lear and Adam Delmont. Delmont's going to go and try for the switchback up towards turn number 12. Olsen-Lear, is he going to go defensive? He is going to do his best to keep the speed on the outside. It's side by side here for 4th position. Will Lyon trying to get involved as well. The checkered flag is out. Craig Walters is going to take victory in the final race of the season ahead of Cooley and Borkland. Vigard Olsen-Lear trying to keep 2 pro drivers at bay. It's going to be a drag race to the line, but Vigard Olsen-Lear beats Adam Delmont to 4th. Will Lyon takes 6th. Daniel Lewis takes 7th position ahead of John Brown as drivers fight their way to the line. What a race it was. What a season it has been. But the final race of the season is won by Craig Walters. The championship is won by Adam Delmont. He is your pro and overall champion, Adam Delmont. Daniel Downing is your semi-pro champion. Demis Titchler is your Pro-Am champion, crossing the line in 23rd. And with a 4th place result in the final race of the season, Vigard Olsen Lear is your amateur class champion. A touch on the back there from Thomas Kuhn, who was fighting him into this final round, but the speed of Vigard Olsen Lear was untouchable in the amateur class this evening. What a brilliant, fantastic, just epic ending to the season. And with it all being said and done, victory to Craig Walters. And let's talk us through our final race results of the season. We will then have a word with a few of our drivers, and we'll be awaiting the championship standings for season number 10. So we can talk you through the official championship standings after all of it. We might take a quick break between us, our interviews and us doing that though. Let's look through our full race results at the end of the second race of the day though. And Craig Walters takes victory in the final time of asking. Ahead of Jay Cooley, it was Kim Andre Borkland in third and Vigard Olsen Lear in fourth. And that is the first time this entire season we have seen the top 4 positions taken by all 4 classes. Adam Delmont took home 5th overall, enough to take home his championship ahead of Will Lyon. Daniel Lewis took home 7th ahead of John Brown, and Jack Brown came home 2nd in class, 9th overall. Ronald de Jong in 10th, and with those results, I do believe that Next Gen Racing Green have taken the team's championship, but we will get that confirmed when we get our full season results. Deck Crowther came home in 11th ahead of Carl Hardy. Kev Ayler in 13th ahead of Fraser Garrity. Mark Draper came home in 15th position. Paul Hurley crossed the line in 16th ahead of Thomas Kuhn, who just couldn't quite do enough in the amateurs. Came home 2nd in class. So Chesley Vandenbroek came home in 18th overall ahead of Torben Mail. Ben Gibbons down in 20th, rounding out your top 20. Lucas Henschel in 21st had JB Deshay. Demis Sitchler was your final driver to cross the line in 23rd position. And it was Chris London and Stuart Gibbons who came home in the end in the very back of the field. And as we see that, look at this from the 3 teammates. Of course, it was Kim Borkland running under a slightly different banner this time, but I think it's lovely to see the 2 Audis and the Honda, of course. It was Kim Borkland running around in that livery, teammated this season with Ronald de Jong, of course. And then it was the 2 amateur drivers, Torben Mail, he's the one in the Honda. And then it was Vigard Olsen Lear in the end as well. They're just getting themselves all sorted for a nice, pretty picture in front of the garage here. But an excellent job, of course, inside those championships. Of course, remember early on in the championship, we have Vigard Olsen Lear and Torben Mail tied on points. That's how close it was between the teammates. But there you go, you can just see them having a bit of a fun go out at it in the cars. And what an amazing season it has been. Then let's have a speak to a few of our drivers after all of that one then, as this comes to a close here at the Hungaroring. And we will start by having a word with one of our drivers that has had a bit of a mixed bag of a season. He's been up, he's been down, he's been about everywhere. In the final race of the season, though, he missed out on 2nd position in class, 7th overall to Daniel Lewis. John Brown finishing 100th of a second off of Daniel Lewis in a sprint race to the line. But we will bring John Brown in here. And what a season it has been, John. It has been a fight all the way to the line in multiple classes. And it came down onto the final lap of asking for a few of our drivers just to get through across the line. You came home some strong results here in the final round of asking. How's your season been? How's your evening been?
Oh, my season has been terrible, but the tail end has been fantastic. The racing's been great. Really enjoyed it. That last round there at Hungaroring was just crazy. I had Ronald on my tail all of race 1. He just wasn't letting up at all, and Kim right behind him. I know he's got pace. And then that last round there, fighting through the pack without trying to get any damage or kill anybody, it was just intense. It was the hardest fought, what was it, 8th or 9th place I've ever had, I think.
8th place in that final race. And I have to say,
Yep.
of all of the races, that inverted field has been the cleanest inverted field of the season. And I think that really showed how people really wanted to end this season. It's been a fantastic one. Of course, we don't have to wait long for season number 11. How are you anticipating the next season going into it? You say the beginning half of your season wasn't great. It got better. Do you think you can carry that momentum into season 11?
I'm hoping so. I think after Brands, I think I'd only completed 43% of the races. After that, I competed in. But this last half, yeah, it's been really strong. I'm hoping for a really good season next season. I feel like I've got enough pace to do well in the semi-pros. Perhaps, well, I'm not as fast as Daniel Downing, I don't think, but, you know, he might have a few off races. There's always a chance.
There certainly is always a chance. Of course, we'll have to see what the classes are like next season as well. There'll be some drivers that are moved up, some drivers that are moved down, so it'll be a bit of a mix into that one. But it should be a strong season number 11. You've ended off with a nice result here, though, at Hungaroring. So a nice way to remember season number 10.
Definitely. So I would just like to remind anybody who's enjoyed what they've just seen there, get signed up for season 11 because the places are filling up fast. I think we've already got 30 plus drivers signed up. Another team of 4 just signing up now. So they're going fast. So if anybody wants to get in now.
Definitely getting involved in this one, and the pre-season events start next week. Of course, the first of the pre-seasons at Sebring next Friday. That you're more than welcome to jump down and get involved in if you head over to the SRL Discord. But John, a season of highlights and lowlights, and hopefully that momentum can be carried into season number 11. Thank you so much for your racing this season.
No worries. Even the lowlights were fun. I'll see you next season.
See you next season, John. Excellent racing. John Brown there coming home in 8th position at the end, and I am getting all of the provisional championship standings. So as I get the provisional championship standings, I'm going to get them on a different screen. Actually, I'm going to get them on a different computer here, so I can have a look at multiple things at once whilst I'm dragging people around. We will have a drag of a few people so we can talk to each of them, and we will be talking first of all with our overall and pro champion. It is Adam Delmont. All you needed to do was finish that final race. You did it. Adam Delmont, you win season number 10.
Oh, cheers, Joe. Thanks, mate. Finally did it. Come on. Made it difficult for myself towards the end, but yeah, managed to get it together when I needed to.
And what a clean second race that was as well. We talked to you obviously at the end of race number 1. I think that's been the cleanest race 2 that we have seen all season long. You had shown some great pace as well with getting through the field. It's a difficult track to overtake, but you managed to move up your way 9 positions in the end. The only time that I would say that I won't count the overtake is when you got past your teammate Jack, of course, but the other 8 positions will count.
Yeah. I mean, it was weighing up, you know, because obviously I didn't want to take any silly risks, but obviously I had faster guys behind me as well, like Will, who's been incredibly quick tonight. So it's not like I could relax and just, you know, pick them off as they made mistakes. So there were a couple I think I did have to put a few little sends here or there just to try and clear the traffic. To stop me getting tripped up over and obviously getting involved in multi-car fights further back because of the potential for an incident or a crash. You know, I mean, I finished that race on 12x. So for the last maybe 7 minutes, I was really, you know, trying to monitor my off tracks and hoping and praying that in that last lap or two, that fight, I was like, do I just stay behind? But then Will caught me really quick, so I was like, right, I'm gonna have to go for it, and just hoped that there wasn't a 4x contact, because otherwise I'd have got a black flag.
Well, it ended up going your way, top 5 champion, and to confirm to boot as well, your team, Next Gen Racing Green, managed to keep hold of the championship lead, 44 points clear of Sim Racing Forces Norway. Obviously, these provisional standings in the championships, but it does mean that your team takes the championship with it as well.
Yeah, I'm happy for that, mate. I'm more happy for Jack on that one. Obviously, he's brand new to iRacing and having a sim, and it's his first ever, league, and he only got his rig literally maybe a couple of weeks before this started. So, he's driven really well. Admits he's got a few things to learn, as we all do when we're noobs. But yeah, he's got some good pace, and to take a team championship in his first outing in months, yeah, good going. And he also got podium in his class after getting bumped up a class from where he started as well. So give him creds.
Certainly, he has had a strong season. As you say, it's even more impressive that he's just jumped in and showing that pace straight away. So we'll see how he improves going into future seasons. Are we expected to see you come back, try and defend your title into season number 11?
You know what, mate? Last week when I drove this Civic, there was a real big percentage of me that was like, do you know what? No, I can't do it. I just was. I can genuinely hand on my heart after driving the Civic since I started driving TCRs and no other car. I couldn't drive it. It was just making me. It was annoying me. I just could not drive it. So
How's it feeling now?
do you know what? After today, I don't know. I was just saying to lads in chat, and I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to, maybe appreciate this and learn this slightly different technique to get the pace out of it. Because the Audi's, a strong car. So to be up there fighting with them at the front, or that have all opted to jump in the new Audi with the lowly Civic, I'll take that, mate. It proved not to be bad actually. So there is a very good chance I will be back.
Well, we'd love to have you back defending that title. Of course, we lost Dan Mould, who was defending the title earlier on in the season due to an injury. So it'd be nice to have a defending champion going into season number 11. Congratulations on all of the race victories you've had this season, the championship in both your pros and your overalls, and the team's championship to boot, Adam.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much.
Adam Damont there, your champion of the season. Not your only champion, of course, and we will have a word with a few more drivers throughout the course of the next about 15 minutes, I would say. And we're going to talk to Lucas Henschel next. Henschel being promoted out of the amateurs from last season as a champion in the amateur field. He headed into the Pro-Ams. It's been a bit of a roller coaster season for you, Lucas, as you try to find your feet in the Pro-Am class, but you have had some good results. You've had some mixed results. How's it gone for you?
First race was really good. Second race was good until I unfortunately touched Will, but no blame on him there. It was just the car overreacted. Like there was way more spin that should have happened because we barely touched. So happens sometimes, but. I put a lot of work
we did see you go into the wall in that one. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. A shame that contact.
Yeah, it was kind of. But yeah, I'm happy. I felt competitive. Like I felt like I gained positions because I wanted to gain and not because people crashed. I've been putting work into these cars and I'm ready for next season.
Well, we are excited to have you back for next season. Of course, you finished this season in your Pro-Am's 9th position in class provisionally on our points ahead of Stuart Gibbons. So the results that you had here today, even with the spin, it still came back to help you out in the end and get some points onto the board. Do you think there's going to be a bit more consistency then next season, as you've learned a lot through this season and the cars having their recent change as well? You seem to be showing some good pace out there.
Yeah. I think like the new cars fit me way better. Not the Audi though. I'm going with the Elantra for next season. So let's see how it turns out. I want to attack top 3 in Pro-Am for sure, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where we can all stand. Of course, classes will be reallocated again next season, but we'll see how you get on in that Pro-Am field, if that's where you stay. And we're looking forward to seeing how you go in season number 11. But a season with ups and downs. Have you had a favourite moment from this season that you'd like to talk us through?
First race of this, first Hungaroring race was my best one, for sure, yeah. That was my best race. I forgot most of the other stuff. Like, I just throw it away. Everything that happened this season, not in my favor. You mentioned the roller coaster. I felt like I was on the chain hill until like first race of today. I was just waiting for something to happen, and today it happened. And if I can continue driving like this next season, I feel pretty confident. Yeah.
Going to say we can get the momentum straight in. We've got pre-season events over the next 2 weeks, of course, that'll be broadcasted here on SRL TV. But then we head into the first round of the season in just 3 weeks' time. So you got a couple of opportunities to get out there in the Elantra, test with the other drivers that'll be preparing for season number 11 as well, and see what you can do. So well done for your first step up into the semi-pros after off the back of your amateur championship, and we are very excited to see what you can do in the 11th season of competition.
I'm excited as well, and I wish you a good night. And yeah, have fun next season casting as well. Broadcast is always good. Enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy it as well.
Thank you. I certainly am, and I'm enjoying all of it, and looking forward to seeing you back down on the track next season, Lucas.
See you then.
Lucas Henshaw there, coming home in the final race of the day in 21st. We saw that spin into the barrier, obviously. It was that little bit of a touch. It did look a bit odd, I would say, but it ended up with that spin. With that being said then, in your Pro-Ams, I know it's not your second highest class, but we'll talk about the Pro-Ams because that's who we were just talking with. Demis Titchler was the man who took home the top spot in the end, only by 25 points with Craig Walters' last race victory, but it was enough points early doors from Titchler to take the championship. It's great news for him, and Jack Brown as well. Let's have a little word. I would like to have a word. He's disappeared. He just jumped off a little bit earlier. I wanted to have a word with Jack, obviously coming home to take the team's championship there, Jack Brown, as well as coming home third in the end in your Pro-Am standings. Your semi-pro standings was won before this evening by Daniel Downing. It is officially tied on points for second in your provisional standings. Kev Aylett, Carl Hardy, 686 points apiece. That'll be count back, but that is yet again, that's provisional standings without any post-race penalties applied. But if that is as it stands, I think Aylett will hold on to second ahead of Hardy, but that is tied for second place. And then finally, to confirm it, your amateur standings in the end came home to be Vigard Olsenlier, 616 points in the end in that one, ahead of Thomas Coombs, 571 points. So quite an advantage to Olsenlier with a very strong final race of the season. Well, a whole evening of the season as well. Here, though, at Hungaroring, it will be time to end as well as here at SRL TV. What a season it has been. What a championship it has been. And we don't say goodbye for very long. In fact, we say goodbye for the same amount of time as we always do, because we will be back next Friday for the first of the pre-season rounds of season number 11. We are going to be heading to Sebring for the pre-season race number 1 for the season 11 of competition. We'll be back on the YouTube as SRL TV, so make sure that you're hitting the subscribe button over there. You'll be notified when we go live every single Friday for these wonderful broadcasts and any POV streams that might occasionally pop up as well. And then, of course, if you're watching over on any of the Joseph Wright broadcasting channels, make sure you're following, subscribing, doing whatever it is you need to do over there to get notified when we go live. From SRL TV here tonight, it is goodbye, and we will see you next Friday. From Joseph Wright Broadcasting, it's goodbye tonight, but we are back for 4 more broadcasts over the course of the weekend, so make sure you're checking us out on the Twitch and the YouTube so you can catch all of the events that are coming up over the course of this weekend. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, though, and make sure that you do check out the Joseph Wright Broadcasting YouTube channel, because the highlights from season number 10 will be up there in full very, very shortly, as we do have an upcoming holiday for my full-time job, which means that all the highlights will be up to date over there, and you can see all of season number 10 in its glory in very quick, digestible race recaps before we get into the 11th season of competition. So then, it is congratulations to Adam Delmont, because he is your overall champion and your pro champion. It is congratulations to all of our other drivers as well, as they take the championships in class. Before we say goodbye fully, though, let's talk you through your full championship orders in each of your classes. Adam Delmont is your champion in your pros. Borkland in second ahead of Will Lyon. Jaden Scotton will come home fourth ahead of Luciano Espinera. Arthur Thurtle in sixth. Dan Mould falls down to seventh after having to step out due to injury. He finishes ahead of Logan McKinsey. Jack Bolton in ninth. Anthony Lemmer in 10th position. Daniel Downing wins your semi-pro standings ahead of Kev Aylett. Carl Hardy takes home third in the end ahead of John Brown. Dec Crowther will finish in fifth ahead of Ronald de Jong. And Daniel Lewis. Mark Draper falls to eighth ahead of Stephen Fry. Jay Cooley takes home 10th in the end ahead of Tom Woodcock, Andrew Lovesey and Marhan Codeman. Dennis Titchler wins your Pro-Am standings ahead of Craig Walters. Jack Brown will finish in third, moving up the order with Fraser Garrity in fourth, knocking Paul Hurley down to fifth position. Alan McCain takes home sixth ahead of JB DeJay, Kevin Marshallsay and Lucas Henschel. Stuart Gibbons will finish in 10th ahead of Luke Woodhouse. Gonzalo Oliveira takes home 12th in championship. Vigard Olsen Leah will win the amateur standings ahead of Thomas Coombe. Ben Gibbons will finish in third with Torben Mail in fourth. Chris London in fifth ahead of Jeff Saunders. Chesney Vandenbroek will finish in seventh, coming ahead of Scott Malcolm. Aaron Matthews in ninth ahead of Andy Littler. Yannick Van Wienen will come home in 11th position and James Brown will take home 12th. What a season it has been then, and I wish you a good night and a great week. We are done for season number 10, but we will be back for the 11th season of competition in just 3 weeks' time. Pre-season starts next Friday. Make sure you don't miss it. Until then, it's goodbye. Goodbye.